Hello, I'm here to acknowledge country. I want to pay my deepest respect and give recognition to the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people on whose land this video is being made. I also want to pay my respect to my ancestors and elders, the Yorta Yorta Dja Dja Wurrung peoples, and give my recognition to any other traditional owners or Aboriginal people watching this video. This video is about the project funded by the Metropolitan Partnerships Development Fund, named Supporting and Advancing Aboriginal Communities in Metropolitan Melbourne. Hello, I'm Karen Jackson. Everybody calls me KJ. I am Yorta Yorta Dja Dja Wurrung, and I am currently the Executive Director at Moondani Balak Indigenous Academic Unit at Victoria University. I am also a member of the Western Metropolitan Partnerships Group, and that was the role of me in this project that you're watching this video about. But I'm also co-chair of the Collingwood-Nyal Aboriginal Corporation, which is located at the Wungurul-Durang Centre. Moondani Balak is Wurundjeri Woiwurrung language and means embrace people. Collingwood-Nyal is Wadawurrung language and means walking together. And Wungurul-Durang means strong heart.
My name is Fiona. I am proud Yorta Yorta woman. My position within the project was project lead. My role was to make connections and build relationships with the community groups involved. I was responsible for recruiting Aboriginal members for our project working group and to offer assistance with the completion of our survey, to gather information that led to the design of our on-the-ground projects. I completed all things admin and ensured everything ran smoothly and according to plan.
My name is Leanne Brooke. I'm General Manager of the Long Walk and Chairperson of the Wundara Aboriginal Corporation. I'm a very proud Gunditjmara Kirai Wurrung woman, and my country is down Western Victoria. Wundara is a volunteer and community-driven group and organisation. It has no paid staff, but a really committed group of local community who support Aboriginal families and people living in and around the city of Hume. We provide a range of programs and services and provide opportunities for mob in the area to come together, celebrate and practice culture. Wundara also has a support group for Aboriginal families caring for children and young people with a disability, and we offer respite and also support in order to access services. Wundara plays a really important role in the local Aboriginal community.
The Collingwood-Nyal Aboriginal Corporation is located within the Wungurul-Durang Centre in Wyndham Vale. And that centre is a purpose-built building for Aboriginal community to gather in, to engage in culturally safe programs, to belong and connect in that part of the western suburbs of Melbourne, and to engage with council and with other Aboriginal organisations across the west of Melbourne. Importantly, the Wungurul-Durang Centre also includes Balim Balim, which is a kindergarten centre, an early years learning centre, and Balim Balim means butterfly in Wadawurrung language. The reason Collingwood-Nyal actually came into being is because a number of Aboriginal people in the west of Melbourne have moved into that place, and there was nowhere for people to gather. There was no programs that people could access quickly and easily. There was a lot of conversations around who was Aboriginal in the community, who was traditional owner, and there was also a number of Aboriginal people who have lived in the west of Melbourne for a very long time, and we all needed a space to gather, to belong, to connect, and to self-identify as strong Aboriginal community.
Hi, I'm Deb Millett, Gurindji woman from the Northern Territory, and I'm the General Manager of Nurma Jimbana, Aboriginal Gathering Place in Frankston. Nurma Jimbana is a not-for-profit Aboriginal community-controlled organisation and our role is to respond to community needs and aspirations. We also advocate on behalf of our membership and for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who feel they don't have a voice. Everything we do is from an aspirational model and not from a deficit. Very much strength-based, and we always consult our community on all matters relating to them.
My name is Rachel and I worked as a researcher in this project. The research group was led by 2 Aboriginal project leads, Karen Jackson and Fiona Hale, alongside Mariah, Grace and I as non-Indigenous researchers to form the project group. We engaged with 3 Aboriginal partner organisations, provided expert advice on the project design and the activities, and gave feedback and direction regarding documentation and sharing of research findings. This ensured the research remained Aboriginal-led, meaning it was led by the priorities and interests of local Aboriginal communities. It also ensured that research recommendations are practicable and actionable within community contexts. There was a written agreement with each partner organisation to strengthen relationships with these groups and to hold the project team accountable.
My name is Mariah and I worked as a researcher on this project. The project included ongoing community consultations, which included surveys with the broader Aboriginal community in Metropolitan Melbourne, conversations with partnering organisations, a literature review, a review of international, state and local policies and frameworks, and projects with each partnering organisations based on their priorities.
My name is Grace and I worked as a researcher in this project. At the centre of the project was an exploration of Indigenous self-determination. Within this project, self-determination is understood as a right held by all Indigenous people and means that they can freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social and cultural development. It relates to the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing autonomous functions. Throughout the project, we continued to build knowledge and understanding of self-determination in the community, with each stage mutually informing other parts of the project throughout.
Self-determination is really important, not just for our organisation, but for First Nations people everywhere. The opportunity or the right to determine what we need, how to address the challenges that we face, and to ensure that it's done in a way that meets our needs and respects our cultural practices. That is what is going to get the results and the best outcomes for our people.
Self-determination is important for Nurma Jimbana because it empowers us to make our own decisions about our affairs with our community without interference. This autonomy fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility. For our community, it means healing from historical injustices by reclaiming control of our own destinies. It allows us to develop programs and services that best meet the needs of and aspirations of our community. By exercising self-determination, we set a precedent for future generations.
Self-determination is a very big word for Aboriginal community. For people who have been marginalised and erased, who are on the edges of society, and historically Aboriginal people who have been dispossessed and dispersed from their lands, their country, their families. And in the West, there's a number of families who have either been stolen or their children have been taken or their parents or grandparents were part of the stolen generation. So in order for Aboriginal community to feel that their voices are being heard, and then that can make decisions for themselves, self-determination is the important part of what that community should be able to do within themselves to make decisions about how they're going to interact with each other, but also be self-determining in the types of programs and services they want to access and how they want to access it, and also be self-determining in how mainstream organisations interact with them. That's a really important part. That said, though, there are lots of other works that are happening as a result of this project and as a result of other conversations in other forums. So there's already conversations around how the different organisations, Aboriginal organisations in the Western Melbourne, might be able to collaborate together and to advocate for each other and to work in a way that grows strength in our communities.
The project was informed by a systematic literature review. The purpose was to review, evaluate and synthesise what has been published about services and programs for Aboriginal people in Metropolitan Melbourne. 811 papers were identified in the early review stages, but only 10 papers were found to focus on programs located in Melbourne that specifically targeted Aboriginal people. This highlighted that there lacks extensive research on programs for Aboriginal people in this area. Through the literature review, it was identified that self-determination was not often addressed or engaged with. This omission suggested that self-determination was often not deemed relevant within programs or their evaluations, resulting in deliveries with top-down approaches and a deficit lens, where Aboriginal people were seen as program and service recipients needing assistance. Research that acknowledged the importance of self-determination helped to frame their programs and services within the broader social and political contexts. The few research papers that did this improved strength-based discourse and informed culturally competent practice. Community consultation in programs tended to occur in the early program stages, such as getting community input to inform the initial program design and choosing activities within a program. We found only occasional evidence of meaningful community consultation occurring while programs were running or when they were being evaluated. This created the impression that programs targeting Aboriginal people within Metropolitan Melbourne continue to be run for them rather than with them, and even less so led by Aboriginal communities. A couple of evaluations showed the link between community-driven initiatives and programs and the perceived benefits for participants and their wider communities. This shows us that programs responding to ideas from Aboriginal communities and run in collaboration with Aboriginal people strengthened participant engagement and trust. To delve deeper into the program landscape in Melbourne, we reviewed the program evaluations against additional themes. These included community consultation and input, leadership and involvement, and accountability and advocacy. We identified that programs that featured continuous community input and Aboriginal leadership were perceived as more culturally safe and sensitive by program participants.
As another part of the project, Aboriginal community members responded to a survey, capturing information regarding their use of services and programs, general demographic information, and their experiences in their regions. The questions were designed to deepen understanding and inform the project design. 103 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community members participated in the survey, representing many diverse language groups. The community service assisted in identifying enablers and barriers to accessing services and programs. The survey responses also provided insight into community members' preferences regarding future programs and services. Through community consultations, we identified key barriers to accessing services and programs, like distance to travel, a lack of programs, inaccessible program times, racism, and a lack of cultural safety within mainstream services, lateral violence, and limited knowledge of available services and programs.
Key enablers for accessing programs were the presence of Aboriginal staff, ease of access, having family that also access the organisation or services, and having a program the participants enjoy. The most common programs or services that survey participants identified as missing were youth programs and cultural activities in groups, such as traditional arts, dance, and others that strengthen cultural identity.
Key themes analysed from participants' open-ended survey responses highlighted the importance of centering the voices of the local Aboriginal communities, coming together as mob, and being inclusive and welcoming for all Aboriginal people, particularly considering complexities around identity and culture. Finally, participants highlighted the importance of family, connection, community and culture. In conversations with our community partners, we found that consultation is currently inconsistent and fragmented. This creates distrust and disengagement among community. When working with Aboriginal groups, it is strongly recommended to ensure ongoing communication and the sharing of relevant information. To enable two-way communication, it is crucial to respect cultural protocols, to be flexible and to be accountable.
The third component of this project was an in-depth review of how Aboriginal self-determination is supported within local, state and international policy documents and key frameworks. The policy review provided evidence to support a shift towards an equitable policy landscape that better enables Indigenous self-determination. We explored how Aboriginal self-determination is conceptualised, accounted for and actioned within the policies that affect Aboriginal people. A focus area for this review was the description of Aboriginal self-determination by local councils and the proposed actions to translate self-determination and community-driven solutions from ideas into effective and sustainable practices. We identified inconsistency in how Aboriginal self-determination was addressed across all levels. There was a lack of consideration for the local Aboriginal community within many local government policies. That being said, we did come across hopeful examples of goodwill and engagement communicated through reconciliation action plans, known as RAPs, at all local councils that were of focus. Existing RAPs are pivotal in expanding the conversations underpinning the RAP development into other policy documents. These conversations would assist in establishing mutual understandings and expectations around self-determination in local contexts. Some state policies and resources also demonstrated the opportunity and ability to do better in this space. These policies had early and ongoing engagement with Aboriginal community in consultation and collaboration. They also had clear lines of accountability to the local Aboriginal community through reporting, community oversight and transparency. These were seen as qualities that can be applied to local policy development in future.
Based on the collected data, we formed practical recommendations for engagement with Aboriginal people and organisations. These recommendations build on existing good practice examples. The project recommends to those engaging with Aboriginal groups and communities to commit to two-way communication, be clear about their accountability, establish relationships and trust, practice critical and honest reflexivity to address racism and negative stereotyping towards Aboriginal people, redirect resources to support professional development around strength-based cultural competency, transfer decision-making power and adequate resources to Aboriginal collectives regarding matters affecting their lives, listen to our local Aboriginal communities and respond to their priorities rather than imposing assumptions about their needs.
The on-ground projects included co-designing advocacy resources, the expansion of new and existing programs within their organisations, and knowledge translation and dissemination to communicate project findings and recommendations to community and the wider public.
There is a lack of understanding from all levels of government on what self-determination for Nurma Jumbana looks like. Some areas still work in a maternalistic way, almost telling us what to do and how to do it. We find this very disrespectful and confronting. Nurma Jumbana has made it clear that we have the capability to manage our own affairs, but it takes a commitment from government to allow us to capacity build. The myth that Aboriginal organisations receive lots of funding is outrageous. What Nurma Jumbana and the Aboriginal community in Frankston needs is a fit-for-purpose building, land and a long lease and a sustainable ongoing funding.
The City of Hume is one of the fastest growing Aboriginal communities in Melbourne. Currently, there is not an Aboriginal community controlled organisation. Wandara is an organisation, however, it's driven by volunteers and it doesn't have a permanent home. It's really important that there is a gathering place or some type of physical space that draws Aboriginal people in, that is able to provide services and meet the needs of local mob. Whilst Wandara supports families and mob living in the area, we do not have a physical presence in the area. We do not have a space that draws Aboriginal people there where people can seek support, access advice, or come together.
The other thing that's happening is that there's small pockets across the West where Aboriginal organisations are being set up. And so they're also spread out and they're providing a really great service to that local Aboriginal community. So what's missing for me is this collaborative way to work across the whole region, across the whole west of Melbourne. And I think that's what the Metropolitan Partnerships attempt to do as that group, because all of the local councils are on that group. And so we have conversations there around how they collaborate together, but that doesn't happen for Aboriginal community organisations. It also makes it difficult in terms of like larger grant funding and provision of services across the region, particularly for youth who are under surveillance quite a lot by police and schooling systems and those sorts of things, so they don't feel safe in those spaces, which can also lead to all sorts of issues and problems. But there's also issues around transport and where people are living, and a lot of that is talked about in the Metropolitan Partnership as well, given the really large and quick growth of the suburbs in the west of Melbourne. And there's no public transport in lots of spaces, so it's really hard for people to move around and get to places where they need to be.
Something that was highlighted by the research was the mismatch between community priorities and what was being delivered. This is something that the Aboriginal community have known about and have been managing for a long time, so being able to record and respond to that within this project was really important. We see the ongoing resilience of Aboriginal community members and organisations working creatively and passionately to preserve culture and dignity. There is opportunity for more self-determined ways of being and doing, but a shift in government mindset is needed to support this. This shift needs to be system-wide, yet allow for solutions at local community levels.
In wrapping up, I want to give my sincere thanks to the project and research team. They've been an amazing group to work with. I also want to give deep thanks to the Aboriginal corporations that were involved in this project. Their time and expertise and knowledge is never to be underestimated. They're a really wonderful bunch of people, and the importance of the work that they're doing in their local communities should never be underestimated. I also want to thank the Metropolitan Partnerships Development Fund for their grant and for helping us keeping this project moving. Importantly though, I want you as a viewer of this video to think deeply about what your next steps can be in terms of engaging with smaller Aboriginal corporations in Metropolitan Melbourne. There will be a final written report coming out of this project which you could gain access to, and it has a number of recommendations that state government and local councils need to work really hard with local smaller Aboriginal corporations to implement. That's a really important thing that you can do. The importance of Aboriginal community, self-determination, voice, advocacy, belonging, identity, connection are such deeply held beliefs and things that are really important to Aboriginal community. And I thank, once again, everybody for being a part of this project. Thank you.